Hi friends, happy Monday, it's Miss Drywa. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. So for math this week, we are actually going to continue long division. So we have fractions we still have to get to by the end of the summer as well, and we will get to them. So instead of doing fractions just yet, we're going to do long division for another week. Because after talking to mommies and daddies and seeing all your work, I figured, my friends are doing such a great job. Let's practice long division for another week, but let's take it one step further. All right, so we're going to get started. We're still going to use our long division family that we used all last week. We're still going to use the same steps, but at the end now, there's going to be one little step extra. That's it. So we're still practicing our long division, all of our steps we need to take, but now at the end, we just have one tiny little step. It's easy peasy. All right, so let's get started. So long division. So remember, long divisions when we see our problem look like this, right? And over here we have like our house and the bigger numbers inside the house, and the smaller number now wants to try and figure out a way to get into that house. And we have to figure out up here our answer. We have to figure out how many times that smaller number can fit into that bigger number, right? That's what we're doing here, friends. So we have our long division family to help us, and we're still going to use them. So we have divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. So Dad tells us to divide, Mom tells us to multiply, Sister tells us to subtract, Brother tells us to bring down, and Rover tells us to repeat. But now Rover also has another job. And Rover, at the very end, when we're all done with our problem, we did everything we could do, Rover is going to remind us to bring our remainder up. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by a remainder, okay? So, I'm going to move myself over here so I'm not covering anything. So, here you can see, I have my division problem. I have my boxes just like you guys have on your worksheets. I already have my multiples out for me. I have my division family to help me, right? So I'm all set, just like you guys. You guys have your family there to help you. Your multiples are on your worksheet for you. We're all set to go, right? Now we just have to actually do the long division. Now, if you look over here, though, friends, you see a little R in another box where a number is going to go. That's called a remainder. That just means that when we get down to the bottom, we might not have a 0 like we had last week. We might have a number remaining, meaning left over. But we have no more numbers to bring down. That's when we just put a remainder up there. That's just saying that 6 can go into this number this many times with a remainder left over. I'll explain that again when we actually have a remainder or our answer. So let's get started. Okay. So, Dad is my first step. Dad tells me to divide. So I take my 6, I knock on the door, right, and I go into the door, and the first number I see is 9. So I have to think, can 6 go into 9? Now remember, if the bigger number is on the inside, then yes. But if the bigger number is on the outside, then no. So I have to think, is 6 bigger than 9? No, 9 is bigger. So that means that 6 does go into 9. But now I have to figure out how many times. So I go to my multiples and I see that I have 6, 12. Now remember, I can't go over, and 12 is too big, so I go back to 6. So I know 6 will go in, but I have to figure out how many times. So I look and I count until I stop at 6, so 1. Well, that was easy, so I put my 1 up here. 1 time. So I divided. First step done. I listened to Dad. Now Mom tells me to multiply. So now I have to multiply 1 times 6. But we know that any number times 1 is always that other number. So my answer is 6. So I multiplied. Now I go to Sister. Sister tells me to subtract. So now I do 9 minus 6. Well, if I count down using touch points, I have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So I write my 3. So I subtracted. Now I go down to brother, and brother tells me to bring down. So I look over and I see a 2. I bring down my 2. I follow the arrow, right, to create a new number. So now I brought my number down, and now I go to Rover, and I have to repeat. So now we have to start over all over again. So I remember I told you that long division has a lot of steps. It has these steps, and then we have to repeat them, okay, until we get to the end, until we divide that 6 into every digit. So now we're on the 2. The 2 is down. So now the new number that we're working on is 32. So we have to see how many times 6 goes into 32 without going over. So I look. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. Oh, 36 is too big. So I go back to 30. Now I have to count how many. I have to see how many times I have to count till I get to 30. How many times does 6 go into 30? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times. So that's what I put up here. That's my division. I figured out that 6 can go without going over into 32 5 times. So I divided. Now I go to multiply. I have to do 5 times 6. Well, if I count by 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I get to 30. Or if you know your multiplication facts, it becomes so much easier. But 5 times 6 equals 30. So I multiplied. Now I have to subtract. So now I do 32 minus 30. Well, 3 minus 3 is 0, and we don't have to write that there. But 2 minus 0, well, we know 2 take away nothing is going to leave me with 2. Right? So I subtracted. Now I'm on to bring down. So I bring down my next number, which is a 0. And then Rover tells me to repeat. So again, I have to start all over again because I have 3 digits here, right? So I go back to Dad. Dad tells me to divide. Now I have to see how many times 6 goes into 20 without going over. So I look. 6, 12, 18, 24. Too big. That's way too big. We have to go back to 18. And now we just count until we get to 18. 1, 2, 3. So 6 goes into 23 times. Right? But what is 3? So now we did our division. Our division's done. That was just dividing. We're seeing how many times a number goes into a bigger number. Now, Mom tells us to multiply. So now we have to figure out 3 times 6. So you can use your multiples here to help you. You just have to count 1, 2, 3, right? You can skip count or use touch points, right? Just like we practiced all those times our multiplication. Or if you have them remembered, you can just say, well, I know 3 times 6 equals 18. So I write my multiplication answer here. And now I have to subtract 20 minus 18. Well, we can't do 0 minus 8, right? So we have to borrow. So we take 1 from here and put our 10 here, right? And now it's 10 minus 8. And I can count down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. And that's it. I did my subtraction. Now the next step is to bring down, but I don't have any other numbers to bring down. I'm done. That's it. That's now, we have to go, and Rover now tells us, instead of repeat, remainder. Because now we have 2 left over right here. So we bring that 2 and we put them up there instead. So now it's more of a bring up. Bring up your remainder. And then we know 6 goes into 920 153 times with a remainder of 2 left over. All right, friends, so remainders, they're really not that hard. It's the same steps. We're taking the same steps. It's a lot, I know. But now we're just the remainder. Now we're just taking it if we don't have a 0 at the end, like we did all of last week. Now if we don't have a 0, we just have to take that number and bring it back up top. That's all. So we're still practicing the same steps, but now we're just going to keep adding the remainders in. All right, friends. And again, you do focus on this in 5th grade. Please don't think that, oh my goodness, this is the last time and the only time I'm ever going to see long division. No, we see it in 5th grade too, and they focus on it on 5th grade too. Just like you did last year, multiplication, we did multiplication again this year. Okay, so you've got this. I'm super duper proud of all of you. Keep up the great work. Bye.